Here's a historical enigma that textbooks often overlook. Entire civilizations have vanished without a trace. We're not talking about small communities or towns. We're talking about colossal empires that seemingly evaporated overnight. Imagine this. Thousands of people, their cities, their cultures, gone without any explanation. No wars, no natural disasters. They vanished. These weren't just regular societies. They built massive pyramids, created advanced trading networks, and had technology we still can't comprehend today. Scientists and historians have spent decades trying to crack these mysteries. Some think these civilizations faced massive climate changes that forced them to leave. Others believe unknown diseases wiped them out, and some think advanced technology played a role in their disappearance. I'll show you 11 of the most mysterious disappeared civilizations in the next few minutes, from an advanced city with better plumbing than ancient Rome, to a civilization that built massive stone heads weighing up to 50 tons. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll question everything you thought you knew about ancient history. So, did these civilizations vanish? Or is there something bigger we're missing? Let's find out. 1. Indus Valley Civilization. Let's start with the Indus Valley Civilization. And trust me, what you're about to hear will blow your mind. Imagine a city 4,500 years ago with better drainage systems than some modern cities have today. That's exactly what Mohenjo-Daro was. Picture streets in perfect grids. Something we haven't seen again for thousands of years. These people weren't just smart, they were ahead of their time. Every house had its own bathroom and drainage system. Water flowed from upper stories down through clay pipes into covered drains beneath the streets. Even ancient Rome didn't have this level of planning. But here's where things get weird. Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa weren't just random cities. They were the center of a civilization spread across an area bigger than ancient Egypt. We're talking about millions of people, hundreds of cities, and trade routes stretching from Afghanistan to Iraq. Then something happened. Something big. Scientists found a thick layer of silt in Mohenjo-Daro, suggesting massive floods hit the region. But that's not all. The climate started changing dramatically. Monsoon patterns shifted, turning fertile lands into deserts. Some archaeologists found weapons scattered in the streets, hinting at violent invasions. Here's the craziest part. Despite all our technology and research, we still can't determine which caused their downfall. Did they leave because of floods? Did invaders force them out? Or did the changing climate slowly kill their civilization? The people who built these incredible cities just walked away, leaving everything behind, and we still don't know why. We know that they were so advanced that it took humanity nearly 4,000 years to build cities with the same level of sophistication, and that's what makes their disappearance even more mysterious. 2. The Mycenaeans. The Mycenaeans were the real-life warriors who inspired countless myths and legends. You've probably heard of the Trojan War and the story of Helen of Troy. Well, these were the people behind those epic tales. And their disappearance? It's one of history's biggest head-scratchers. At their peak, the Mycenaeans were unstoppable. They built massive stone fortresses that people thought only giants could have made. Their kings were so rich they were buried with gold death masks that would be worth millions today. We're talking about a civilization controlling trade routes from Italy to Egypt. These guys weren't just warriors. They were master craftsmen too. They made bronze weapons so perfect that other armies couldn't compete. Their palaces were filled with treasures from all over the world. They even created their writing system, Linear B, which took experts decades to crack. But around 1200 BC, something terrifying happened. Every Mycenaean palace was burned to the ground within just one generation. Their writing system disappeared. Their trade routes collapsed. Their cities were abandoned. It was like someone just turned off the lights on an entire civilization. Some people blame invasions by mysterious sea peoples. Others think earthquakes destroyed their cities. There's even evidence of a massive drought that lasted for decades. However, none of these theories fully explain why such a powerful civilization would completely vanish. The weirdest part? The survivors seem to forget how to write, build those amazing fortresses, and even work with bronze. It's like they chose to erase their history. The Greeks who came later had to start from scratch, and they turned the Mycenaeans into legends. 3. The Olmecs. You won't believe this, but long before the Aztecs or Mayans, a mysterious civilization in Mexico did something impossibly strange. They carved massive stone heads weighing up to 50 tons. And when I say huge, I mean some of these heads are as tall as a 2-story building. These people were called the Olmecs, and they pulled off things that should have been impossible 3,000 years ago. Those giant heads? They somehow moved them over 60 miles through swamps and jungles. We still can't figure out how they did it. The craziest part? Each head has different facial features, like ancient portraits frozen in time. The Olmecs weren't just skilled sculptors. They built the first cities in North America, complete with pyramids and ball courts. They created complex trading networks stretching from modern-day Mexico down to Costa Rica. They traded things like jade, obsidian, and rubber. Yeah, they figured out how to use rubber when the rest of the world didn't even know it existed. But here's where it gets weird. The Olmecs also left behind something that stumped researchers for decades. Baby figurines with strange features that don't look quite human. Some had cleft heads, others had jaguar-like faces. Were these just artistic choices, or were they trying to tell us something? Then, around 400 BC, they vanished. Their cities were abandoned. Their trading networks collapsed. Their art style disappeared. Sure, other civilizations came after them, but none could replicate those massive stone heads or explain who these faces were supposed to represent. The strangest thing? When the Aztecs found these ruins centuries later, they had no idea who built them. They called the region Olmen, meaning land of rubber. But the people who created these incredible monuments? They were gone without a trace, leaving only their stone giants to stare at us through time. Fourth, Nabataean Kingdom. Hidden in the red cliffs of Jordan lies a city that looks like something out of a movie, Petra. But what most people don't know is that the civilization that built it was even more incredible than the city itself. The Nabataeans did something that sounds impossible. They built an empire in the desert. Now, this wasn't just any desert civilization. The Nabataeans figured out something no one else could. They learned how to control water in one of the driest places on Earth. They built channels and pipes inside the rocks that caught every single drop of rain. They even created hidden reservoirs that could store water for years. Talk about smart. But here's what's wild. These people turned their harsh desert into a luxury shopping mall of the ancient world. They controlled all the trade routes for spices, silk, and perfumes. They became so rich that they lined their water pipes with gold. That's right. They had gold pipes in the desert. The Romans couldn't believe what they saw. Here was this civilization thriving in a place where most people couldn't survive a week. The Nabataeans were making more money than anyone else in the region. They built their city with columns and temples carved right into the red rock cliffs. But then something strange happened. Even though they weren't conquered or destroyed by natural disasters, the Nabataeans started to fade away. They slowly abandoned their incredible water systems. Their trade routes became less active. Their spectacular city began to empty. What makes this even weirder is that we can't blame war or disaster. The Nabataeans became friends with Rome and even copied their style. But somehow, this brilliant civilization that mastered the desert just disappeared. They left behind their beautiful rose-red city, incredible water systems, and no clue why they left it all behind. Today, tourists walk through Petra, amazed by its beauty. Still, the real mystery isn't in the buildings. It's in trying to understand why a civilization this successful would walk away from everything they built. 5. Minoan Civilization. Before ancient Greece and the Roman Empire, a mysterious civilization on a tiny island changed everything. The Minoans built something that sounds like it's straight out of a fantasy story. A maze-like palace so huge and complex that it inspired the legend of the Minotaur's labyrinth. The Palace of Knossos wasn't just big, it was mind-blowing. We're talking about a building with over 1,500 rooms, built 4,000 years ago. They had running water, flush toilets, and even a drainage system. In a time when most people lived in mud huts, these guys had multi-story buildings with walls covered in stunning artwork. The Minoans did something nobody else was doing. They put women in charge. Their artwork shows women running ceremonies, making decisions, and even doing dangerous sports like bull leaping. Yeah, you heard that right. They jumped over bulls for fun. But here's where things get crazy. Around 1600 BC, something apocalyptic happened. The massive volcano on nearby Santorini erupted. This wasn't just an eruption. It was one of the biggest explosions in human history. The blast was so powerful it sent tsunamis racing across the sea and covered everything in ash. Yet, strangely, the Minoans survived this disaster. Their buildings were damaged, but they rebuilt them. They kept trading, making beautiful pottery, and living their lives. But then, about 150 years later, something else happened. Something we still can't explain. Their writing system disappeared. Their artwork stopped. Their palaces were abandoned. The surviving people started living in small villages, almost like they forgot everything they knew. It's like they chose to forget they were once one of the most advanced civilizations in the world. What could make an entire civilization give up everything they'd built? Was it invaders we don't know about? Did something happen that was so terrible they tried to erase their past? We might never know. But their empty palaces still stand on Crete, full of artwork showing a world we barely understand. 6. Khmer Empire. Think about the biggest religious building you've ever seen. Imagine something 5 times bigger, built 900 years ago, in the middle of a jungle. That's Angkor Wat. But the people who built it, the Khmer Empire, were even more impressive than their temples. These guys didn't just build one temple, they built an entire city bigger than modern-day Paris. And they did it without any modern technology. The craziest part, they created a water system so advanced that they could control the flow of an entire river. They built massive reservoirs that held more water than some lakes. At their peak, the Khmer Empire controlled most of Southeast Asia. They had armies with war elephants, traded with China and India, and built hundreds of temples covered in more stone carvings than any other place on Earth. One temple alone has over 1,500 dancing figures carved into its walls. But something weird started happening around the 1300s. First, they stopped building those massive temples. Then, their water system began to fail. Scientists recently found evidence that they had crazy weather. Years of terrible drought followed by floods that their amazing water system couldn't handle. Here's the strange part. They didn't just leave their cities. They let the jungle eat them. Massive trees grew through temple walls. Roots wrapped around stone statues. It's like they wanted nature to hide everything they built. When European explorers found Angkor Wat in the 1800s, they couldn't believe what they saw. How could anyone abandon such an incredible place? The local people knew the temples were there but had no idea who built them or why they left. Even today, we're still finding new things. Scientists using special radar found entire cities hidden under the jungle. They discovered that Angkor was way bigger than anyone thought, home to nearly 1 million people when London was just a small town. But the question remains, why did such a powerful empire walk away from everything they built? 7. The Aksumite Empire. Have you ever heard of an African empire that was so rich they made their gold coins before most of Europe? That was the Aksumite Empire, and what happened to them is one of history's biggest mysteries. Let's talk about how powerful these guys were. They controlled trade routes from Africa to India. When Persian and Roman traders needed stuff from Africa, they had to go through the Aksumites. These people were making so much money that they built giant stone towers that looked like skyscrapers. In the 4th century. Now here's something wild. Remember the Queen of Sheba from the Bible? The Aksumites claimed she was their ancestor. They even kept her palace around for centuries. And get this. They had their special writing system that their descendants still use today in Ethiopia. It's the only ancient African writing system that has survived modern times. The Aksumites did something unusual for their time. They made Christianity their official religion before Rome did. They built massive churches carved into solid rock. Some are still standing today, and are so well made that people still use them. But then, things got strange. Their trade routes started dying out. Their giant stone monuments stopped being built. Their cities began shrinking. Some scientists think climate change turned their farmland into a desert. Others blame a new superpower in the region, the rise of Islam, which changed all the old trade routes. The weirdest part? Unlike other lost civilizations, we know who their descendants are. They're still in Ethiopia. But somehow, these people lost the ability to build those amazing stone towers. They forgot how to make those gold coins. It's like someone erased some of their ancestors' knowledge while leaving others behind. Today, you can still see their monuments rising out of the Ethiopian highlands. But the empire that built them, one of the most powerful in ancient Africa, faded away so mysteriously that most people don't even know they existed. 8. Göbekli Tepe builders. Here's something that will change everything you thought you knew about human history. Imagine a temple built 12,000 years ago, 7,000 years before the pyramids. Scientists found it in Turkey, and it's called Göbekli Tepe. But that's not even the craziest part. The people who built it weren't supposed to be able to make anything like this. They were hunter-gatherers. The people we thought wandered around hunting animals and gathering berries, but somehow they carved massive stone pillars weighing up to 20 tons each. They created detailed animal carvings that look like they were made yesterday, and they did all this before they even invented pottery or metal tools. What's blowing scientists' minds is that these people had no cities, farming, or permanent homes, yet they somehow got hundreds of people to work together to build something bigger than a football field. The stone pillars are arranged in perfect circles, covered in carvings of animals we don't see in that region anymore. Lions, bulls, and birds. But here's the real mystery. After building this incredible place, they deliberately buried it. That's right. They spent years covering the entire temple complex with dirt. Nobody knows why. Was it some ritual? Did something scare them? And why build such an amazing place to hide it? Some scientists think Göbekli Tepe changed human history in ways we're just starting to understand. Maybe religion came before farming. Maybe these hunter-gatherers were way smarter than we thought. But we might never know because whoever built this place didn't leave us any writing. Just their mysterious stone circles buried under a hill. The strangest thing? After they buried Göbekli Tepe, this incredible civilization just vanished. No more massive temples. No more amazing stone carvings. They took all their knowledge and disappeared into thin air, leaving us with a mystery that completely changed our understanding of human history. 9. Cucuteni-Trypillian Culture. Here's something most people have never heard of. A civilization in Eastern Europe that thrived over 6,000 years ago and left behind one of the most puzzling mysteries in history. Known as the Cucuteni-Trypillian Culture, these people built some of the largest settlements in the ancient world, only to burn them down deliberately. Let's talk about scale. At their peak, they built settlements housing tens of thousands of people, a size that rivaled ancient cities like those in Mesopotamia. These weren't just random clusters of huts. They were meticulously planned, with circular layouts and homes made of clay and wood. What's truly unique is their pottery. Each piece is a work of art, painted in intricate patterns and designs, often in vibrant colors like red, black, and white. It's some of the most detailed and advanced pottery of its time. But here's where it gets strange. Every 60 to 80 years, they systematically burned their entire settlement to the ground. Why? That's the million-dollar question. Some researchers think it was part of a religious ritual, symbolizing renewal and rebirth. Others argue it might have been a practical strategy, like preventing disease or pest infestations. But there's no definitive answer. This practice of burning their cities is something we don't see anywhere else in ancient history. They left behind no writing, only their incredible pottery and the ashes of their once thriving communities. It's a mystery that archaeologists are still trying to solve, one that challenges everything we think we know about early human societies. The Nok Culture. Imagine an ancient civilization so advanced that its art and technology still leave modern researchers scratching their heads. That's the Nok Culture, a mysterious society that flourished in West Africa over 2,500 years ago. What they achieved is nothing short of extraordinary. Let's start with their iconic terracotta sculptures. These aren't just simple carvings, they're lifelike, expressive, and highly detailed. The Nok artists created intricate figures of humans and animals, often with elaborate hairstyles and ornaments. These sculptures are so sophisticated that they rival the artistry of much later civilizations. And here's the kicker. They were among the earliest cultures in the world to use terracotta on this scale. But the Nok weren't just artists. They were also technological pioneers. They mastered ironworking when most of the world still learned to work with bronze. They produced tools and weapons that were stronger, sharper, and more efficient than anything their neighbors had. This gave them a massive advantage in farming, hunting, and possibly even trade. The mystery? Nobody knows what happened to them. By around 200 AD, the Nok culture vanished, leaving their incredible sculptures and iron tools as their only legacy. Was it climate change, overuse of resources, or something else entirely? Archaeologists are still piecing together the puzzle. What's undeniable is that the Nok were far ahead of their time. Their art and technology didn't just influence West Africa. They set a standard of innovation and creativity that resonates even today. 11th. Dilmun Civilization. The Dilmun Civilization, often overshadowed by its more famous neighbors like Mesopotamia, was a powerful and mysterious ancient society that thrived in the Persian Gulf region over 4,000 years ago. Revered in Mesopotamian texts as a land of great prosperity, some even claimed it was the location of paradise itself. Dilmun wasn't just any trading hub, it was the trading hub. Positioned at the crossroads of major trade routes, it connected Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and the Arabian Peninsula. Goods like copper, pearls, and dates flowed through its ports, making it one of the wealthiest and most influential civilizations of its time. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of advanced seafaring skills, warehouses for storing goods, and even seals used for trade, proving how organized and economically savvy they were. Their relationship with Mesopotamia was particularly intriguing. Dilmun appeared frequently in Mesopotamian myths and texts, described as a land of eternal freshness and abundance. The famed Epic of Gilgamesh mentions Dilmun as a place of purity, a paradise untouched by corruption. Some scholars believe this is where the idea of the Garden of Eden might have originated. What makes Dilmun even more fascinating is its urban planning. Excavations have revealed sophisticated settlements with clean water systems, burial mounds, and temples that indicate a highly developed society. Yet, despite all this advancement, Dilmun eventually faded into obscurity. Climate change, shifts in trade routes, or political upheaval might have led to its decline, but no one knows. Today, Bahrain is considered the heart of the ancient Dilmun civilization. Its ruins and artifacts continue to intrigue historians and archaeologists, offering tantalizing glimpses of a culture that once flourished as the gateway to the ancient world. Conclusion: the stories of these lost civilizations aren't just fascinating tales. They hold valuable lessons for us today. From the Indus Valley's urban planning to the Khmer Empire's water management, these ancient societies remind us of humanity's ingenuity and resilience. They also warn us of the challenges, climate change, resource overuse, and societal collapse, that can lead even the greatest civilizations to vanish. The latest archaeological discoveries continue to reshape our understanding of these mysteries. We uncover new cities, artifacts, and clues yearly with advanced technologies like satellite imaging and ground-penetrating radar. Who knows? The next big breakthrough might rewrite history as we know it. As we look to the future, these lost civilizations inspire curiosity and remind us how much we still have to learn. What other secrets are buried under the sands of time? And what can we do to preserve the legacies of those who came before us? If you found this video thought-provoking, hit the like button and share it with someone who loves ancient mysteries. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that challenge what we think we know about the past. In the next video, we'll uncover another mind-boggling chapter of history that you won't want to miss. Stay curious.